Okay, you guys, we're gonna get going here. Please, can everyone hear me okay? Give me some, thank you. Thank you for some thumbs up, please. We're gonna so first of all, my name is Sarah Wells. I started the lesson bank like a year and a half ago. But Julia is here, so do you want to introduce yourself? Because she's gonna be helping us as kind of like answering questions, and then we'll do some more introductions. So Julia, you go first. You're on mute though.
Hello everyone, my name is Julia. Sorry I look like a shambles right now. I am one of the mods, so when you first joined the group, hopefully I was the one to accept you. And I'll be answering questions during this training in the chat box, and if I don't know the answer, or if it's a good one, I'll bring it up to Sarah. So nice to meet you, everyone.
Yes, and we also have Elise Neville, who is she's the famous one on all the digital effects Minicam stuff. So Elise, is now a good time? Here you are. Introduce yourself and say hi.
Hi, I am on YouTube, usually as Teacher Ellie, and I have just made some tutorials on how to use Minicam in the classroom and doing digital rewards, and I feel so privileged to be working with Sarah. She's amazing, and I'm glad to be part of this group.
Yeah, the privilege is all ours, Ellie.
Oh, yeah.
I like giving nods to where they are due. Okay, so first of all, please feel free to have your camera open if you want to, but if you're like, nah, feel free to close it. If you aren't talking, just mute your mic so that we don't get crazy noise. But also, so what our outline today is kind of going to be, I'm going to do a quick introduction of what the lesson bank is so that if you're new, you have an idea, and then go into a brief overview, and then we're going to do Q&A. So if you have questions, please ask them. We want to answer all of your questions. Okay, so the lesson bank. The lesson bank started when I started a little over a year and a half ago now. There was nothing, you guys. There was not a lot of support for lesson prep and in class, and definitely nothing for after. And so I noticed I was doing a lot of lesson work, and I wanted to keep notes on all my students and keep track of the lesson, but there just wasn't anything that was really, I just noticed I put a lot of time into it. And at the time we had about 3,000 teachers. And so it was like, this is crazy that there are 3,000, which we have 30,000 now. But we have 3,000 teachers who are doing the same thing as me every day, and we're not working together, and we're all recreating the wheel every single lesson. And so, and I kind of it was this process of going through like, wouldn't it be nice if we had like an outline of the lesson so that you could see what was on every page in a glance? And wouldn't it be nice if we knew, like, we didn't have to go in beforehand and figure out like what the song is and what the warm up or what are all these things, so that you could just do it quicker and easier? And then wouldn't it be nice if instead of all the niceties and feedback, it was just there for you, so you don't have to read everything that every other teacher is doing. Also, we didn't have to keep recreating that every time. So that was kind of how it started. So I made a format that and there wasn't anything. There were some people who were doing printable ones, but there wasn't anything digital and nothing that was collaborative. So that's how the lesson bank started. So I made one, and we went with it for about a year and a half. And then I realized as we kind of progressed, and as VIP Kid has adapted and made more things accessible to us, that we needed some changes. So that's why we did 2.0. So 2.0 is a year and a half of figuring out what's really being used, what's not being used as much, and then adding other things that I just had no idea when I started would be good additions. And so 2.0 is rocking, guys. I'm so happy about it. It's saving so much time. So let me screen share. Also, so Julia, if you have questions about something that I'm saying, she'll be answering them. So please feel free to use the chat box. If it's something that would apply to most people, she'll chime in and kind of stop me. Otherwise, you can save your questions for the end and ask anything big or small. So no bad questions here. So let me screen share with you guys to get going. All right, so let's just jump into just kind of an overview of what is in 2.0. And then we'll talk about how to get started, making your own, and how to use it, that kind of thing. And it's really important that everyone is on the same page so that poor Nora, Gigi, doesn't have to share her personal schedule with all of us, because I will just delete it because it doesn't belong here. So we'll get everyone on the same page. Okay, so this is what's in it. So the first tab at the bottom, and these will change as we go along and kind of adapt to it, but some things will always be the same. So the doc orientation will always be here. So if you want just a print, like an overview of anything that I'm saying today, it's here. We also have YouTube videos, which I am constantly trying to keep up to date for you guys, because I know that that's a really convenient way, just have someone tell you rather than having to read it. But on the doc orientation, it tells you how to do everything. And then these are the descriptions of what should be in each column. And then below it, the white is an example. So if you want to know if you're doing it right, this is a great place to go. The next place is your personal schedule template. So we will come back to this and we will go through how to copy this into your own drive so that you can get going with your schedule. But this is the template. And then we have the trial lessons, which really need some updating. It's been a while since we've worked on these. They need a little love. And then we have the MC tab. So the MC lessons, this is every lesson that VIP Kid has that starts with MC in the SN code. So that includes pre-VIP Kid and the unit assessments, and then of course all the levels up to level 6, because that's where we're at. I think I have heard rumors that level 7 will come out sometime. But if you haven't heard, Korea, no? Was it Korea? Ellie, what did I tell you earlier? We just opened 2 countries.
Korea and Vietnam.
Korea and Vietnam, yes, is officially just been opened. You will be notified via email if you get to teach anyone from there. I think they're starting slow, doing beta, but I kind of think that's where their attention is right now. So I don't expect to see level 7 soon, but it could come. And then we have winter camp. So anytime we do like a seasonal camp, we always include those. The old ones I've decided to delete on here because they were just kind of sitting there and taking up space. Then we have schedule makers. And the last videos, all the training videos, we had 2. We have 10 now. So hopefully that gives us all a little bit more room to generate our schedules. These are for generating your schedule, which that's the big update for 2.0, that you don't have to do it lesson by lesson. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so glad we figured it out. So you can generate it all in a chunk. And then another big update to 2.0 is the teaching tips and tricks. So Mary Clayson, I don't know if she's here. I don't think she is. Ellie, is she here? No, she's not here. So Mary Clayson from VIP Kid Teachers Tips and Tricks, I think that's the group name. She's collaborated with us to take, so she has a bank of all, and this is where it is. This is it. Of all of the teaching tips. So if you're like, I don't know how to teach like meals of the day, I got nothing to make that fun and it's drab every time. And if someone has a great idea of how they're teaching it that's working, that's what this is. So that's a bank of teaching tips and tricks. And this there, it's like, so Nancy Taylor's is on there, Ellie's is there, Mary's are there. I have some, Hope's are on there. So anyone who's making videos, and if you have a video, like if you have a great way of teaching something, please record it on YouTube and add your link. This is very much for anyone who wants to contribute. That was always Mary's goal with the tips and tricks page is, what are you doing right? And share it with us so that we can do it right too. And so she's added that very graciously to ours. And she's also working presently on taking those tips and tricks that apply specifically to the lessons and adding them, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So so this is a bank of it, and you can go to this tab and search for what you want, but also you can go to the lessons, and if you have one, please add it, or add a tip from here to a specific lesson, all of the above. With the teaching tips and tricks, there are the teaching tips and tricks, and then there are the VIP Kid questions and procedures. So this is more like becoming a popular teacher, back-to-back classes. So it's that rather than like teaching style ones. Then the next one, Ellie, would you like to say what we're doing?
Sure. I'm
on
sorry.
yours?
I'm a little bit slow. My bandwidth is not super high right now, so you'll just have to be patient if I'm delayed. But we're spending time. So I don't know if you're familiar with what I do, but I have rewards with a program called Minicam. So let me see if I can give you a quick preview. This is going to cause major delay, but I just want to show you what it looks like. So right now I'm using a program called Minicam, and I do rewards that are on the screen for my student to visualize. So for example, one thing I really like to do is a silly little princess dress up game with my kids. And so I will, when they do a good job and I want to, I will pop over to a different screen. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I will, you know, ask them which princess they want, and then we'll put the princess in a different place, and then we'll dress the princess up in something different. So that's basically the gist of how my reward system works. Ooh, sorry, let me switch back.
There's such a big face of you.
Everywhere. And that is the goal of Minicam, was, like Sara, to get everybody on board doing, helping each other, giving each other free rewards. And that's kind of what my group is involved in. That group is called Digital Effects Tools. It's also on Facebook, and we just have a ton of people contributing to the group. They're making objects actually to put on the screen, so that you don't always have to rely on a web-based game for rewards. And the goal of combining this with the collaborative lesson make now is so that you can just go in, make your schedule, and have maybe 3 or 4 choices from which you can base your new reward, and just have it all there automatically right away, and you don't have to do a lot of prep for that. If you have questions about how the digital reward system works, or what software to use, or anything like that, you can check out that Facebook group and YouTube channel.
Yes, which will be, you guys, the truth is I just bullied Ellie into doing it for me. Because like, Ellie, this is what I want. I just want someone to tell me what thing on Minicam is up for the day. So that's what will be here in the digital props, will be those options of rewards or props that you could use for that specific lesson. So you'll be seeing more and more of those starting to fill in. So that's what, but this will also be where that will be
here actually on this tab, we plan on putting some tutorials so that you know how to use what the links that are already in the collaborative lesson bank, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have just printable props and rewards. So if you're a printing person and you have something fun, please feel free. There are some, like, so this is a link to a bank, someone else's bank, but then there are specific ones. So if you have some of those, please feel free to share them here. Then we have level and entry point descriptors. So these are really valuable for if you're doing a lot of trials and you want to understand better abilities at different levels. There are also these nice level overviews from VIP Kid included. So if you're new and you're getting kind of adjusted and like getting your feet wet, this is a great tab actually to check out and kind of familiarize yourself with. Then this one, if you ever wonder where we're at with how many lessons we have, this is the tab for you. Or if you do a new lesson, this is also the tab for you. So this is just a running, this is something I did when I updated 2.0, just to kind of see where we were with our lessons. So we have 19 left in level 1, level 2 and 3 have something in all of them. That does not mean that they're done correctly. So we still need a lot of updating, but there is an entry for every lesson. And then as you can see, we have 8 more in level 4, and in level 5, we have 31 to do, except for someone just did that one, except feedback. So we have 30 now to do. And then so units 1 through 5, we have 18 more to do, but then in level 6, units 6 through 12, we don't have any because those are so rarely taught. So that's kind of where we are. So if you do find one that doesn't have an entry and you do it, you can come slap your name over here and we'll give you some gold stars. And then we have C1. C1 is really rare to get these days. This is the old curriculum. I saw someone get a class the other day, like maybe a month ago in C1, but before that, it's been like 8 months or 6 months since I've seen someone. So you most likely will not get a student in C1, but if that comes up, it's old curriculum, and definitely look through that lesson because they are very bare, nowhere near as good as the current curriculum. So you will probably want to be prepared for that because they're different. Okay, so that's your overview of the tabs at the bottom. Now let's go to what are columns at the top. So we'll jump to the MC lessons, and let me jump to level 2 because usually we get a little bit better. Not everyone does pre-VIP kids, so let's look at here. So the first one, of course, is the lesson SN, the code, and then the lesson name. These are all filled in and they're locked, so that you can't change these because we don't need to when we want to keep our array in the right way. So that's what those are. So they're in dark to say, don't mind us over here. And then light orange. So first we have the lesson outline. And it is exactly that. It's an outline of the entire lesson so that at a glance, you could have this open right under your lesson, your classroom, and you would have all of these things. So it's designed to be open at the same place, or you could do it next to. Some people do next to, I do under, but you don't have to do under. That was a me thing. You can do it how you want to do it. Opened with your lesson, so that these can kind of be an at-a-glance guide as you're going along. So the first one is the lesson outline, and it's pretty simple, honestly, the formatting. It's every slide gets the slide number, and then colon, and then a brief abbreviated explanation of what's on it. So if you're introducing a vocabulary word, that's the only thing you need on that. So then we know that's what's on that page. So think as simply as possible with still explaining what's on it. And then we separate each slide by a semicolon. And as long as it's on the same topic, then we keep going on the same line. So slide number, colon, what's on it, semicolon. Slide number, colon, what's on it, semicolon. And you keep doing that until the topic changes. Once the topic changes, you go to a new line. And that means new topic. And you do that until the end of the lesson. And that's really it. There's nothing more fancy to it. Then the next section, this is new for 2.0, is an in-class student note section. And this is so that you have somewhere right next to that, a place that you can write how your student's doing. So if I keep track of every single word that they have, if they're really low level, but at upper levels, I keep track of every single word they have a hard time with. Anytime there's a concept, like if they're struggling consistently, like a lower level with the G sound, then I would put in that on struggling. Or if there's something that like they're kind of getting, but they don't quite have it, developing obviously. And if there's something that they've got it, you do not need to spend more time on that. That would go in mastered. So, and you can, you don't have to follow that. You can delete that definitely if you have a better way or your way of taking notes. But we just put that kind of skeleton to kind of explain what the notes section is for, that it's not feedback. It is for in-class note-taking on student performance. And then right next to it are the lesson goals. So this is just copied straight from the teacher portal. We'll just jump to it real quick. Right here. Let me go to lessons that aren't under this material section, this class info. So we're just copying, and they've just updated these. And so most of the entries in the lesson bank are dated. They're very similar. They're on the same topic, but they've just updated all these. So this, if you're like wanting to help contribute, but you want to start slow and easy, this is a great thing to update for us because it's just copying it and pasting it right in. But that's what it is. So these are your objectives for the lesson, your vocabulary words, your sentence patterns, and the grammar that you should be working on. So you have the whole lesson, your place to take notes, and then the goals for the lesson just chunked in right there, and that can easily fit under the classroom so that you can follow along. And then the next is props and notes. And this is, so like this over here, this prop section should really be over here. That's where you would want that. So this is a great place for if you're a prop prepper, this will be the section for you. So if you want to get those props ready, or if you just want to look at it, even the 30 seconds before a class starts, then you can be like, oh yeah, I've got carrots and apples, don't have grapes. Okay, great. And you might grab them. So then you're a little bit more prepared, but you didn't have to do like any work for it. Also, the notes is they're just kind of like the heads up. So like in this, oh, not that, that's different. So unit assessments, we've been putting in the links to printable versions. So if you want printable versions of the UAs, that's what's in this section under UAs. But it's also just things like if the lesson's like kind of sparse or not very much, and you're going to really need to have some extensions prepared, and that would have been nice knowing going into it, that's something you would put there. Or if there's a lot of content, so you got to keep your pacing on and keep going, which is like all of upper level 6, that is something you'd put in there. So just the things that once you've taught the lesson, what you wish you would have known going into it, that's where we would put that, so that you can tell yourself or every other teacher what you learned from teaching that lesson. Then this is the place where we're putting those digital props and rewards. And just like this one, the reward is build a face. So you would have like the reward, just letting us know that it's a reward rather than a prop, and then what it is, and then the link to it. And same if it's a prop. Then the reward system. Now this is the suggested one in the actual lesson. So the VIP kid one. And this is on the quiz, so chime in here. This is formatted by background / manipulative. So like if I was doing one on this is not one that VIP Kid does, but if I were, then it would be monkey / bananas, because bananas are the thing you're adding to it. And we do it that way so that if there are some teachers, which I didn't know, but when we tested, we found out some people actually do the rewards VIP Kid suggested. Sorry, they're usually just not my jam. And so we do that so that they can grab those easily, or if you wanted to be in alignment, I think new teachers tend to be worried about it and try and do those, then you could just see like, oh, face and the features. Okay, great. And then the warm-up and end song are just whatever the warm-up and the end song is. And if there isn't one, then you just say none or NA, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then this is the section that the tips and tricks are going in. So if you have a great prop, or you have a great, so these are teaching how to teach emotions, or this is a fun thing, something that's a teaching tip for the lesson specifically, this is where you'd put it in. So even if you don't have, maybe you're not a YouTuber, or you don't want to record yourself, but you just have a great way of teaching it, you can either write a doc and link the doc to us, or you could just write a short little blurb in here and be like, I teach this way, and it rocks it every time. That's where you put that. Now we have the feedback. So let me find I should have found a good feedback for you guys. Okay, here we are. Perfect. So banked feedback are not performance reviews. They are not. They are about the lesson. So it's an overview of the lesson and the intro niceties that would apply to any lesson. So you do not want to say things like, it was nice meeting your child today, because what if it's someone else's regular? Or you don't want to say, it was good seeing them again, because what if it's a first-time student? So think of things like, I was happy to teach your child today, because even if the kid was a butthead and you weren't actually, you should be saying that to the parent, that you were so happy to see that kid today. So things like that. I was happy to teach your child, or it's nice to see your child in class today, that kind of thing. So in that way, it can apply to any lesson anywhere. And then we just want to write an overview of the lesson, what was in it. And then at the end, if you want to write a positive performance review, so they were able to read blah, 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 or they did something. So that's a performance review. That's what we're going to put at the bottom. For a long time, we tried to just say, don't do performance reviews, and it was too hard for people to do. So we're giving you the ability to now put in your performance review. But we want this key at the bottom. And this is the new thing that makes feedback so fast if people will just take the time to do this part correctly. So you put in asterisks, and you put in if it's a positive performance review or a negative performance review, which negative wouldn't be like they did terrible, but it'd be like, keep really working on this thing. So it's still positive, but it's saying that they didn't do a good job with it and they need more practice. And so just let us know. And especially if you put the asterisk, so here it has asterisks and then here it has asterisks in the feedback, that lets you quickly read where the performance review is. So if you didn't want that, it would be very quick and easy to cut it out. Then below it is the find and replace key. And this is what makes feedback so fast and amazing. It's been so nice having this in on the lessons, because we just started this about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, before 2.0 rolled out, but still really new. and this is how to do the find and replace key. So the Control H if you are on a PC, or Control Shift H. I think it's Control Shift H if you're on a Mac. No, Command Shift. Anyone on a Mac can tell me? If I have my Mac, then I would know. I'm pretty sure it's Command Shift H. But think of help. I always think, help me switch this. That'll help you remember the find and replace. And then you're just putting in what it says. So it says lowercase, your child, and be really specific. If you use an uppercase, your child, then put that in as well. Or if you do just lowercase, put lowercase in. So be really specific with capitalizations here so that people know if they need to do it specific or not. And then you're just putting in like the your child, and then what we are replacing it with, which would be the name. So say it is like Tim came out, so Tim is his name. And then you want to make sure that you do, and you would never do this on the actual bank. What I'm showing you right now is a big no-no. I'm just demoing it really quickly for you. Specific range, and then you want to match the case because there isn't an uppercase. So then it will find only the lowercase ones exactly how you wrote it and replace it with Tim. So you match it and then replace all, and it will automatically change all of those to your student's name. So then it appears as if you wrote this really nice long overview for your parent about what was in class. And then you can copy this and paste it into your feedback. And I highly suggest downloading Grammarly or a similar extension to Chrome. It's just a grammar and spelling edit. But if you click on the little thing, it'll open up nice and big, and then you can quickly edit. You just select the ones you want to change. So it's a great spell checker, and it's a great way to write your feedback in there. And then all you have to do, so you came here, you change the names, and then you add the performance review. And it's really nice because if you took the notes over here during your class with struggling, developing, mastered, you can sometimes even just copy those straight out and paste them over, because it said, here's how they did today. Struggling words, developing words, or concepts, and mastered. So in that way, you're just like copy, paste, done. It's really nice. Or you could write it out and be like, oh, today they worked on blah, blah, blah. But then all the niceties are done, and you have a list right there of everything that you already are going to put in there. So that what takes time with feedback is that you're thinking about it. You have to go back and be like, okay, how did they do? Okay, yeah, they did this, and then that. But if it's already there, then it's really easy to just go, oh, they did this, and keep working, and it's nice to see you. Teacher Sarah, bam. And then you're done. So then feedback, honestly, should never be taking you more than a minute. And you have this like beautifully written, and it looks like you've spent this a lot of time, and the parents are like wowed. They want to rebook you because you took so much time with their student and you gave them specifics about what they're doing well with and what they're working on and da-da-da. And then also the struggling, developing, mastered, if you filled that out, you just copy that straight into the teacher feedback. And then you have excellent details for the next teacher that you didn't have to spend a lot of time writing because you just copied and pasted it. But it's really clear. And if there's something else you wanted to add to the teacher, you could. Okay. And then, so we have the bank feedback, we have alternate feedback, so that if you wanted to do one that was a little bit different, you can. And then the last tab is the class tag. So this is, and it's like VIP Kid knew I was going to be doing a workshop tonight, because they set me up perfectly for this, because most of the time this is a harder one to explain to people. But this is so that you can tag your class. If you had that moment of like, oh, that was beautiful TPR, I did it just how I was supposed to, it worked just how it was supposed to, you would tag that lesson as a TPR one, or you would tag it as something, so that then, just like they just did today, when VIP Kid rolls out some incentive that's like, hey, if you had a great TPR moment, or you had a great student output moment, or blah, 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 please send us that video. You don't have to now go back and search through all your classes. You just search for that tag, and all the lessons that are options are already tagged and there for you. And they do that semi-frequently here and there. Especially the more involved you get in certain things, that's a very nice feature. Or if it's like you had something bad happen where it was like, oh, the class where the kid was naked and I was uncomfortable and so I left, blah, 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 that's where you would tag it. So that then you're not like searching through and trying to find the name. That's your way to tag it. So it's just your personal tags, and you can use it however you want to, but that was how it was intended. Okay, so that is the overview of what's in it. Now let's actually get you started. Or do you want to take questions about anywhere where we've been so far? Anyone? We doing good? Keep going? Okay, let's keep going. So now here's the time. If you are not, if you don't have your thing made yet, here's the time to do it. You can just do it right along with me. So what you want to do, so there's a big difference between the lesson bank and your schedule. There are two different things. The lesson bank is a collaborative bank that everyone, and you can see it because everyone's up here. You can see exactly who's on here. And it's nice now that we're making everyone quiz in because you're actually getting a lot more names, whereas before it was just anonymous everyone. So I actually like that. I really like seeing people's faces rather than anonymous. This is collaborative, so please don't make your schedule in here. Please don't change these things unless you're updating something that you're intending to update for everyone. We want you to be, you have to test in now. And so if you have access to it, you are an editor, you're a contributor, you're a collaborator, and so we want you to. So if you see a lesson that is outdated, or especially all the new interactive lessons are just launching, and we have all the old ones, and so update them and help us, because only one teacher has to do it once. We have a little visitor. Oh, sorry, babe. Only one teacher has to do it once, and then no teacher ever has to do it again until they change it. So really, it's cutting down all that recreating the wheel. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you do is you go to Google Drive. So, okay, we're keeping it real with potty time, you guys. Ivy can help you upstairs. Sorry, guys. Okay, so that's why I say it's okay if it's casual, because it is casual at my house. Okay, so you come to Google Drive and you go to your Google Drive. And I'm just going to switch my accounts really quickly, so just ignore this moment for 1 second. Okay, you come to your Google Drive. And then in your Google Drive, if you have already been working with the bank and you're just making a new, you need to make a new template because it's different. As you know, the columns are different now. So either you're making a new one, or if you've already have your like VIP kid file, then you can just add another tab. So I'm showing you right now that if you're doing it from scratch, you would come to your Google Drive, you will click New, you will click Google Sheets, and you want a blank spreadsheet. And then this doc is your personal schedule. So this is not shared with anyone else. This is just you. This is for you to keep your schedule, your students, your classes organized. So this is not for anyone else. The lesson bank is shared with everyone. Public area, private area. We've been having a little bit of a hard time with that, so that's why I'm trying to make it very, very clear. Then you want to name it something that lets you know that don't name it like 2.0 lesson bank. Don't name it anything that has to do with 2.0 or lesson bank. Make it like my schedule or something like that, like my lessons, something that's me oriented, so you so you don't get confused by the two, because it's easy to. That's why so many people are making this mistake, because these are easy mistakes to make. So name it something that's about your stuff. Now you come over to 2.0 lesson bank. Now in the lesson bank, you come to this personal schedule template, and you're just going to right click, and you come up and you do copy to. You don't duplicate it, copy to. When you do copy to, now that doc you just barely made is there. Or if you already, now for everyone who already has one, you find your thing that you already have that you're already using, and you do that. If you don't see it right there, you can do recents, and that's another way that since you just made it, it'll be the first one that came up. Either way, you just want to select it and then click select at the bottom, and it'll say sheet copied successfully. And then when you come to that, so now we're leaving the bank. You didn't make a copy of that tab. If you made a mistake and you duplicated it, that's okay. Just delete it real quick. Don't delete the original. Delete the duplicate. And if you're too freaked out, just message me. Anytime you ever make a mistake and you're like, oh no, I've ruined something, I don't know what to do, you can always message any admin, and we can easily help you and fix it really quickly, because we can just undo what you just did. But if you let it sit for a long time, then that's what makes it a little harder. Then if you come back to this personal drive, the My Lessons file, it looks like nothing worked, but you just come down to the second tab, and the copy of my personal schedule template is there. And you can rename this. You can name it like 2018 if you want to do it by years, or February if you're doing it by months, whatever you want. And you can just delete this first tab because you don't need it. And now you have it. Now you have your template in your personal Google Drive file. And then you also have access to the public, the bank. So that's the difference between those two. So you have your schedule and then you have the bank. So then the idea is, I'm sorry if that background singing's loud. I'm guessing it probably is because I'm using not this mic. So enjoy the background music of my child. Then we come to your schedule. So this is where you only have to do that part once. You only are making your schedule doc one time, and now this is what you'll be doing every time you're teaching. So then you come to your schedule. Okay, I just wanted to make sure all of them are on too. And then you're gonna so you can do it however many you want. You can do all of them at one time for a whole week if you want to. The problem with, okay, so we have 10 more minutes. So in about 8 minutes, we're going to switch over to a new one so that we can do our Q&A because we're just about done with this and then we'll answer questions. So Julia, you're still with us. You just let me know when it's time. And if you have a link, or Ellie, share the link on the chat right now so everyone has it and everyone just like copy it and have it ready so that when 8 minutes is here, which is fast transition.
Now, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Elle. Okay, so now but I would highly recommend just do it the day before. That's what I recommend. Do it the day before. It has the least amount of chance that your student is suddenly going to change up their lesson, like add one, or because it's so close before. But it also gives you a chance to, like, if there's something that, like, there's a highlight, like, oh, you definitely pay attention to this lesson, you still have time to do that. So I'm going to prep my lessons for tomorrow. So you're just going to highlight all of it. And you can either do shortcuts or you can do the long way. So right click and copy, or Control C. If you're on a PC, if you're on a Mac, then Command C. So you're just copying it from your VIP Kid lesson classrooms tab. Sorry, brain's not working. And then you're coming over to 2.0. You're coming to the schedule maker. So the schedule makers, think of them as rooms that you're temporarily going to use to generate your schedule and then leave so that someone else can go into them. So we just want to find one that's open. So this one looks like it's open. And then you're just going to Control V, paste it in. And then it's automatically going to generate all of your lessons. Any MC course, trio course, or winter camp will all automatically generate. If down the road we have some other camp that comes up, we'll get there and we'll add that one too. Things to know. You must be using Chrome. We've found lots of compatibility issues. Also, some extensions on Chrome don't work well with it. I don't actually know the ones that came up in topic, but if you're having problems and you're doing it all correctly, troubleshoot with these. Troubleshoot with doing it, making sure you're in Chrome first, and then maybe you have a weird extension. But for the most part, if you're using Chrome, you'll be just fine. It'll look crazy in its formatting, but that's okay, because we're going to fix the formatting once we take it over to your schedule. Because right now you're in the public area where everyone is. So once it's copied in, there are a couple things to know if you're seeing problems. So one thing to know is so let me just show you. It won't work right now. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I keep getting the question, can you do old lessons? Or if you have a lesson so like this morning I had a lesson that the student was a no-show. So this no-show tab will actually fill up one of the columns when you're copying it over. And if anything is in this G or H, it will not generate what's meant to be there. So like right now, the classroom's material student info, and this is the thing that is the one last glitch we're working on fixing, which is surprisingly tricky. So if there's any Excel masters out there, you just let me know. You can't have anything in the tab for it to generate. So for example, if you want that struggling, developing mastered, just come in here and delete what's in here, and then it will, see, it fills it in. So if you have a student no-show that's in there, it'll freeze the student outline, and sometimes it freezes it for all of them. So just go in, if it's not generating, just delete the thing that's in there, and then it'll all generate. So then once it's generated, and sometimes depending on the amount of people in there and the amount of people who are generating classes, sometimes it takes a few minutes. You'll see a little like thinking bar over here. Just give it a few seconds. And then you want to highlight the rows. So start with the top row and then shift and do the bottom row. So now you've highlighted all of them and do it by row. And then again, right click and copy or Control C or Command C. And then we want to come to My Lesson. So this is where you're taking it from the public avenue and putting it in your private one. If you've taught lessons, so let me open up my real schedule so you can see what I mean here. So this is the one we just made. So if you're new, you're just going to paste it in. If you're not new, and so like here's my schedule from this morning, then all you do is you highlight a row and just scroll down with however many you're going to add. So like say 10, and then do that shift and highlight it again and right click and insert 9 above. So then that puts the chunk, and you're always putting your new lessons at the top. And then I personally, you can do how you want to do it. I like adding a row of color just to say like, this is my new teaching day. So these are my new lessons. Those are my old lessons. So then when I'm finding my new day, it's just really quick and easy to find. And then so I'm going to go back to if I hadn't, but I get that question. What do I do? How do I get there? You just add in some new rows, paste it in here. So then you come here and you do Control V. Oh, you do not do Control V. Psych. If it doesn't work like that, the reason is because you have to do the special paste. So you have to do Control Shift V. And that's what will copy it over. Or if you want to do right click, paste special, and then paste values only, which it'll say right there, Control Shift V. So if you forget that Control Shift V, just do the right click. Remember, you have to go to the special, and it's that top one, the values only. And the joke I like to make is if you get there and you're like, oh, shift, because it's not there, shift. And then you remember, oh, I need shift. Shift. It works. It helps you remember. So now before you click out of it like I did, keep it highlighted because your formatting's all crazy. And then just get rid of your borders because they look bad and they're not all there. And then align it to the top and then go to this text wrapping and then wrap. So I'll just do that one more time. So get rid of your borders. I'll vertical align it to the top and then text wrap it rather than not. And then now you can see all the stuff that's there. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It looks nice. And as you can see, like this lesson, there's a lot of information I could fill in. So then you can go through your lesson, and this you would have open with your lesson. And then it's really this great guide. So it's this great guide for props. It's this great post lesson for quick feedback, like so fast feedback. In class note taking about your student. You have your objectives so you know exactly what you should be focusing on right there in front of your face. And then the lesson outline. And the lesson outline is really nice for when you're teaching your student and you have to start paying attention to pacing, or you're like it seems like, oh my gosh, this topic keeps going on. And I'm in the unit right now where this is, the months and the days of the year, where it's like for 70 slides, they're going to keep asking, what month comes after July? Yes, what month comes after August? And it does that for so many slides. And you're just wondering like, how much longer are we going to be doing this for? Now you know exactly how many slides. So then you have mastery over your lesson with pacing and how you're presenting your lesson that you wouldn't otherwise have unless you have a photographic memory and you've memorized the lesson. And you don't look stupid because you're like, okay, now we're going to do that on the next one. And then they changed the topic. Or you're like, okay, and then you did it and they didn't change the topic. And the thing you just extended with on that slide now is the whole slide of the next one. And so then you look stupid. So this is really because we're independent contractors and we are trying to sell our classroom. We want them to sign back up with us. This is where the real gold is for the lesson bank. I mean, the time saving is nice with the feedback, but this, being able to have that kind of mastery and make it look like you've memorized your whole lesson, but really you just have the cheat sheet right there, really changes the flow of your lessons. So then it just gives you that polished, refined overview. Oh, one last thing that I really forgot to do, and it was like good clockwork. Once you've copied your schedule over to your lesson, jump back over to the lesson bank and delete it so that the next person can go in and do it. And you don't need to clear the formatting if you don't want to. You can just delete it. I like clearing it because I'm a little OCD, maybe. And I like it looking nice. So anyway, just delete it out so then the next person knows it's open and they can do it. So anyway, And again, if you are waiting for a room and there aren't any, just pick one and kind of sit there and wait. And if you wait like 3 minutes and it's still there, like I mean, literally they're just waiting for it to generate. So if it's already generated and you wait there for 3 minutes, they are definitely done with it. You can go ahead and delete it. If you see like someone working on it and like a little cell, but if there's no cell highlighted, then they've probably already taken it and they just haven't quite remembered to delete it yet. Okay, so that's what the lesson outline, and that's really the biggest thing that will change your teaching, is that then you have true mastery over your lesson, because you know what's going to have lots of extension, because there are some things that need more extending. They need more time, but you're only going to get one slide on it. Whereas there are some things that really you could do in one slide and they're going to get 4 slides on it. So if you know that, then you know you can go quickly through those slides, or you're going to spend the time with the student on the slide, and then you just have a more engaged and refined lesson with your student. And parents will really appreciate that. So that's kind of the real selling point of the lesson outline, because then you can have that in-class mastery and pacing. Once it starts getting close to the end, you can see exactly how many slides and the kinds of slides, because some slides won't take long, and other things like, oh great, we're going to introduce 3 new things, because sometimes they review a lot at the ends, and other lessons they don't review a lot at the end. So anyway, that is what that is about. Okay, let me think if I have anything else I want to say before we just do Q&A. Common mistakes we're seeing are that you're adding tabs at the bottom or moving them around. So try and keep on the lesson bank that it's public and you're not moving them around. You're just updating specific cells. So think, I'm copying this one time and then I'm just updating, and then the schedule makers just remembered to delete your things from them. And then just the Chrome thing. Honestly, it's going really well. I'm very pleased with how it's going. Please feel free to answer each other's questions on the Facebook page. Don't feel like you're stepping on anyone's toes. You, by all means, answer away. If you have questions that you're trying to get answered and they're not getting answered, please message any of the admins. Please tag me in a post or just message me directly. If you see that I see it and I don't get back to you within a couple hours, just do it again. There's sometimes I'm like in a workshop or like working or doing something, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll answer that when I get home, or something, and then I forget. So and it's hard because there's so many avenues to connect with me right now, and there's so many people. So that will be, it will not be annoying to me. It's a nice service. Just remind me. It's never annoying to get a like, hey, remember me? Or if like I just answered your question via Facebook and then I come over to email and say, hey, because I don't know everyone. Okay. All right. So now not that. I want to do this. I want to stop my sharing, but I want my video. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Okay. Questions. It's question time. Specific ones, big ones, anything. You probably are not the only person with it, so don't feel weird about asking it. For last minute bookings, can I just pop it into the middle of my already generated schedule? Yes, if you're on the in the schedule maker. Otherwise, you'll just want to do that a la carte. And actually, we haven't really talked about a la carte, so let me just show that really quickly to you guys. So if you need to do a lesson a la carte, which is just like the old way of doing it, all you want to do is, so say I need to define this Brazil lesson. So you just want to copy the SN code, copy it, come over to the bank, come to the MC tab, and then you want to do the find in sheet feature, which is just Control F or Command F. And then this find in sheet thing will come up and you just paste it in there, Control V, and it'll automatically take you to it. It pops you straight to it. And then you just highlight the bright orange. The bright orange is what you're taking. That's why it's like dark color. You're matching the bright and the dark. Also, the reason why it's blue in this one and orange in the lesson bank is so that you know blue is my personal schedule. Blue is me, which is not to get distracted or confused with. We have that one template, so don't get confused by that. But blue means personal, orange means on the main lesson bank. So anyway, you would just come and copy it from the MC lesson. Sorry, I'm clicking all over the place. Clear as mud. Highlight the bright orange. So highlight the first, shift, do the last one, and then Control C, and then come over to your class schedule, and then just paste it in. So that would be, if you got a last minute booking and you just wanted to do that one, you could just copy it that way. Or if you want to go to this generator, then yes, of course, you could go back to one of those rooms, the schedule makers, and just put it in there and it would generate it. Okay. Other questions? Go to your 2-year-old. You are released. Okay, when I make my personal schedule in the Drive, can I save these and generate new tabs and save things for days and weeks and months going back? Okay, I think I understand your question. Will all your old stuff save in your file? And if that's the question, the answer is yes. And that's the beauty of having your personal Drive, because then every class, I mean, if you started this from your first lesson, you would have a record of every class you ever taught at VIP Kid, and every student you ever taught, and notes that you put on them and talked about them. And on the student notes, especially if you have new students, I would write things like the happy cute kid who had the cute moment with his mom or something, you know, things that would help trigger your memory, so that then if that name comes back up and it's like, oh, I taught him, when did I teach that person? Then you can do that find in sheet thing again, find that name, and then you'd be like, oh, it's that kid. Got it. But yes, it would save all of your information for every lesson. And you can actually filter it too. So if you want just a specific student, you can filter for that student. And then you can watch you can see their progress over the whole time you've taught them. Other questions? Or you guys are all professionals and you know everything. The truth is you do. You probably feel like, I don't know, but you actually know everything now. There's nothing left to know. The only other thing is the advanced level is that I do my schedule, and as I'm teaching, I'll find little errors and update it as I'm going along in my personal schedule. And then I just find that lesson, and then I highlight mine and I paste it into the lesson bank to update it. That's the only thing I didn't cover. Okay, there are certain things that some people say consistently in their feedback that I don't agree with, like, please leave me 5 apples, and I'd like to replace them with thank you for sharing with me. Okay, so yeah, that's a good thing to, if you have a certain way at the end that you like to write, like you don't like saying, please leave me 5 apples, that's the nice thing is if those things are at the bottom and they're indicated in the performance review thing, like maybe in the performance indicator, if you do that, be like 5 apples or something, so people know like, hey, this is a 5 apple request feedback. Then that's an easy thing to just delete really quickly. And then you can change it to whatever you want. And honestly, I haven't actually seen that very often. I know a lot of people do that, but I haven't seen that in the feedback skeletons very often. Oh, also, I've been getting this question a lot. If you like want to try out contributing, but you're not really sure if you've got it, just go for it and then message me and say, hey, is this right? And now I am happy to look over and be like, oh, you forgot this thing, or this is blah, 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 and we can work on it. And it's really pretty easy. And any time you have questions, please feel free. And we're working on doing training videos on each of these things specifically, so that if you're like, oh, I don't remember the feedback part, which there's actually already a video for that, then you can go and rewatch that one video and do it. Okay, you guys, I feel like you have questions. April, I can see your face. And when I said you were a professional, now you went like this. So how do you not feel like a professional? I'm just going to pick on you since you're brave enough to show your face. Oh, you're on mute still, though, so we can't hear you.
There. I just feel rusty. So, you're moving along and this all makes sense to you. And I know I'll feel like that in maybe a couple of weeks. But, like, I watched your first long video. It was like, 20 minutes? If I watch all of the other videos, am I going to feel like it makes sense? Like, I feel like, oh, crap, what did she do again? Like, to get her personal schedule started, generate with the orange tab, how did she get that header versus, So, like, you demonstrated, but I didn't retain.
So a good way to do it is do it along with the video. Yeah, because I am like in these, I'm moving quickly. So just pause it and be like, okay, copy, copy to, select, okay, play again. Okay, next step, pause, and just do it right along with me and just do it with me. Find the section that you're like, okay, make the end for the answer. Making your schedule is coupled with the schedule maker video. So if you want that one, go to the schedule maker video because that helps you get started and how to use the schedule makers. And just try it. The truth is
just
the resource. Yeah.
I went ahead and I bought some stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I printed off all these lesson plans, and now I have all these stacks of paper, and I'm not sure if I'm going to even use them.
Well, I hope you don't. That's my goal. Don't have a lot of junk.
Yeah. I think I can see beauty in both.
Mm-hmm. You will.
Different.
Oh, yeah. If you saw I am surrounded by props. Ellie's a true nomad. She's a nomad teacher that really utilizes Minicam. I'm a bother. I want Minicam when I'm not doing that, and I want props too.
I want to substitute, and I want to be able to go on the fly. And sometimes I might just need to have stuff that I can grab, and I won't have a chance to generate all of this stuff. There's not time to generate when classes already started for 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
What do you do in those kinds of situations?
I don't know. I always do it the night before.
So you don't sub, you don't do short notice?
I go and grab it real quick. Because it only takes just a few seconds, I just grab the lesson real quick and paste it in. And even in the niceties of intros, it's really easy for me to just find it, slap it in, and then I have it. Because I can definitely wing classes. Anyone who's been around longer than a couple of months, they can wing classes. But the quality of teaching goes down. So even me, when I've been here a year and a half, I've taught at least a few lessons in every single unit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very rarely like, oh, what is this? You know what I mean? And even still, when I don't use the bank, I'm just like, oh, it just isn't as good, and I wanted it to be as good, and it's not. Because the reality is it can't be as good because I don't have a photographic memory, and so it's unrealistic to think I know you know what I mean? So it just having the resources there and quick, it makes it look like you prepped the lesson for so long, but you just have all the tools right there to grab immediately and quickly.
Looks like other people have questions.
Yes, questions away.
Would it work to copy and paste into Excel? That's what I've been using so far to keep track of the few classes I've had.
Ellie, do you know the answer to that? I've never done that.
I think the answer to that is yes. I mean, as long as you're just copying and pasting the values, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the benefit to sticking with, if you don't want to do Google Docs, but the benefit to Google Docs is then it's anywhere you are. So if you travel and you're on someone else's computer, you can still access all of your files or lessons. But yes, theoretically you can. That was your question, not if you should. You can do whatever you want.
I think this person has a good question. See new. I hope I don't know what that name is. Sorry. She wants you to demonstrate how you split your screen between the CLB and when you're actually teaching. How you do that?
Yeah, great one. Okay, so I'm going to show you full because I have kind of a few things up. So I have my lesson in one. Let me just go to one. And
her name is Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for asking a good question. Everyone's questions are good questions. Okay. So I have my lesson open like this. I have the lesson bank. So we just did his lesson. So let's just find it for real. River. Here you are, River. I think I got River's lesson. Yeah. And I make the lesson, unit assessments are a little differently because especially with the new ones, but pretend this is a unit assessment. I make it so that I just have exactly the size of the lesson so I can see the thing, and I make it the right size so that I can just barely see the stars. And then I bring it up so I can see the numbers, the slide numbers at the bottom. And then as you can see, when you have this one below, and I'll open this up, kind of like this. And I also make this one, you can change the widths of things. And also, this is another good thing. If you're like, I do not care about seeing the lesson name, you can go to this column and hide the column. And it's still there. It'll still copy and paste. But if you're like, I never care about short notice, hide it. I never care about finish types, hide it. I never care, like we need those for formatting so you can copy and paste it, but if you're just like, I don't care about that, or if you're like, I never care about these reward systems, which these I never use for the real ones, but I do use them sometimes for putting in which ones I actually use so I can keep a better log of all of them. But say you're not, I'm never doing that. Just hide them so that you get rid of the stuff from view. And then if you ever want to see it again, these arrows, you just click and it'll open back up. Oh, yeah. Look at this. I'm making a mess. There we go. Okay. And then I just have this right below it so that then I can see it. I use Minicam, so then I would open up my Minicam and I have it right here. And then I have that there. And then this is how I teach, because I don't need that. And so I can see that and I'm teaching blah, 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 blah. But then my notes are just right here so I can type it in if I need to, but I can still see my student the whole time. This is the setup.
And then if you have, Sarah, if you're using an external website with your Minicam.
Oh, with my Minicam, yes. Good question. Then I just say this is it. So what she's saying is if I use, like if I'm doing a reward, a digital reward, so let's go to one. So also I highly recommend just have everything saved under a folder. So all these links are quick too. So say I'm doing like build a face with my Minicam. Then I have my build a face here and I make it the size that I need. And then I just have my Minicam below it so that if I need to click in between, then they're there. And look at that. Boom shakalaka. All things necessary. Which leads to, I highly recommend having a widescreen or dual screens, dual monitors. In the olden days, having dual monitors meant you were like techie and rich and fancy. That is just not the case anymore. You can go to like secondhand stores like Savers, or I don't know, DI is the Utah one. It's not DI anywhere else. Goodwill. Yes, all those ones. You can get them for like $20 or $15. Best $20 you'll ever spend. Just to have dual monitors. Or this one I got at Costco. Worth every penny. Every penny. I love it.
Can I answer April's question about the nomads? Okay.
Please do.
So I travel a lot, and I always have Minicam up, and and now the collaborative lesson bank, and I also usually have that web page that I'm using for a digital reward. Sometimes I don't use a web page with a digital reward. Sometimes I just do it within Minicam, but usually I use the web page. So that means I have those 4 screens up, and I actually use a lot of the zoom out tools with. Do you want to show that, Sarah? I just select Command and the minus button to zoom out of Chrome so that I make the lesson box actually pretty small. And yeah. So at the top in the browser address box, there is often a zoom tool, but if you can't find it, you can also click Control. I think it is on a Windows computer, and then Mac, it's Command and Command minus. So I don't know if you can show that.
It's not letting me do it in Zoom for some reason.
You can go to you can just go to View and zoom out in the Chrome menu. And that will, sorry, Sarah, totally putting you on the spot.
No, I'm sorry.
And that will make the screen significantly smaller. I usually actually zoom mine out to 60%. So it's really small, but I do teach from a laptop a lot. And that gives me enough room to do all of the things that I need to do. And it's not just, the great thing about Minicam is I can make that reward, like the princess thing I already showed you guys, really, really small, like so that it's teensy on my screen. But because the Minicam tool allows me to zoom in, it looks big on the student's screen, if that makes sense. So I just make everything really small, have really good eyesight. And that's how it works for me.
April, did we answer your question about doing all that in the CLB or on your personal? The answer is you do all your teaching, all of your schedule will be in your personal schedule. The CLB you're only using for generating that schedule and then putting it in your personal and then deleting from the schedule maker. And then just updating the CLB when you need to. So all that is definitely done in your schedule maker. Yeah. Yeah, blue is your personal one, which is a little bit confusing because we have the template for your personal one in the lesson bank, but everything that has stuff on it other than that will be orange in the lesson bank, and then blue means your own. Just an attempt, just trying to give you something else, because for a long time they were the same color, and they're like, because once you start updating them, and so you are copying and pasting a lot of lessons back into the lesson bank, it's really easy to really quickly start switching that and pasting them the wrong direction. So that's why we changed the color. Okay, other questions? Okay, then we are gonna call it. Thank you for coming. Hopefully this saves you guys lots of time. You are welcome. It saves me lots of time. Now, took a lot of time to make it, but now it's a big time saver. Okay, go take your quiz. If you haven't taken the quiz, go take the quiz right now, because you know everything to pass the quiz for sure. You know everything. So go take the quiz real quick, and I'll update everyone's. I'll add you in just a bit. Okay, bye guys.